I'm Amanda McLaren, and this is the Papaya Pod.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Papaya Pod. I am your host, Jimmy, and we have another amazing guest for you today. This guy is our first American guest, I believe. I'm pretty sure he is. He's from New York. He's a massive McLaren fan. He's an amazing artist, has done some incredible drawings of Formula One drivers and everything else. Go and check him out on the socials and see all his amazing work. You will not be disappointed. His son is named after a McLaren driver. I'm not going to tell you who it is. You'd have to listen to the episode to find out. But that's really cool as well. He was an amazing guy. It was great chatting with him. And as I always say, I hope you guys enjoy this as much as I did. Without further ado, it's Alex Alverado. Alex, how are we doing?
We're doing great, man. Thank you so much for having me on the program today. I'm so excited to be here.
Thank you for coming. I'm really excited. We've made the timings work. Obviously, you're over in New York. You're our
Yes.
first American side guest, I believe. Hope I haven't missed
All
anyone.
right. I'm happy to represent.
I'm pretty sure you're our first American guest. So yeah, thank you so
All right.
much for having me. Thank you for giving me your time, and thank your family for allowing you to do this whilst you're actually on vacation at the moment as well. That's commitment right
I
there.
know, yes, I don't have any artwork up. I'm Airbnb-ing it in the Catskills in New York, but as I'd mentioned to you before, this is a complete coincidence. The bed sheets are papaya. I
There we
didn't
go.
intend for that to happen. It's just, stroke of luck. It matches the hoodie.
I really hoped that you had requested it in your booking that the sheets had to be papaya.
That's how I sleep. I only sleep in papaya.
Alex, I'm going to start where we always start, and that is why are you a McLaren fan?
Boy, okay, so I have to make a full confession. I was not a Formula One fan growing up. However, I was very aware of Formula One. One of my earlier recollections was the Ayrton Senna days. I was a kid in the late 80s. Obviously, I was born in 1982. So my early recollections were of Ayrton Senna. I knew who he was. I mean, he was world famous at the time. Um, I still remember when my father came to me and told me about what happened to him and how he passed. And that always kind of stuck in my mind. That's always been my first true memory of Formula One. At that time, I was maybe 11 or 12 years old. Of course, we went through the Michael Schumacher years, and I was aware of everybody. Again, everybody's aware of Michael Schumacher. We talked about it before. In the 90s, there was Michael Jordan, Michael Schumacher, Michael Jackson, and Mike Tyson. It was the Mikes. But I was always aware of it. And then, of course, Lewis Hamilton. But I met my wife in 2013, and she is an enormous Formula One fan. She's actually Tifosi. She loves Ferrari.
Wow. Okay.
So she kind of, got me into it. She was telling me she's a fan of, I believe Alonso and Kimi Raikkonen were racing for Ferrari at the time. And I still remember telling her that Sebastian Vettel had moved from Red Bull to Ferrari, and her mind exploded. And
I bet.
I thought to myself, let me pay more attention to this. And Vettel was closing out his historic run at Red Bull. I mean, he wound up winning the last, I don't know, 6 or 7 races that season. And I started to learn more about Formula One. I started watching the 2014 season when the Silver Arrows were dominating. And I fell in love with the sport. And I told myself, I have to pick a team. Like, I'm still left out as a fan. I'm left out of, like, my wife is just, we all know Tifosi are crazy, but I
Yeah.
didn't understand it. And I said, I've got to adopt a team. So I started looking up team histories and this and that. And I did not want to be a Ferrari fan. If anybody's a Ferrari fan, please forgive me. I didn't want to join that team. It
Why
was a
not?
little,
Why did you not want to join that team? Because that would have been the obvious choice, right? With your wife as a Ferrari fan as well.
it would be the obvious choice. I feel like at the time, had they turned it around and begun winning constructors and drivers championships again, because they had a great lineup, it would have been like joining up at the front of the line. And I didn't want to do that. I wanted to kind of find somebody who was still, you know, building something back. And of course, I came across Williams and McLaren, and I began to really dive deep into McLaren, um, into the history of Bruce McLaren, into the history of the team, and I didn't even realize as a new fan how successful McLaren was beyond the years of Ayrton Senna. I mean, they're essentially the second most successful team in all
Yeah.
of Formula One, and their history and heritage was there. And I thought, let me learn more about this team. I actually wound up watching on Amazon. I believe it was called Driver. If you recall it, it was about it was on Amazon Prime, and it was about the uh, Honda engine and the McLaren chassis reuniting again. And this was
I
when
haven't
Fernando
seen this.
Alonso. Oh, you got to look it
I need
up
to
on
look it
Amazon
up.
Prime.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, I think it's called Driver. And Fernando Alonso had rejoined the team. Honda, as you know, had this terribly unsuccessful marriage
The Honda
with
years. Yeah.
McLaren. Right. And it was this documentary, I think it was 4 or 5 episodes about, how this all came together. Hilariously enough, it was a complete disaster. But it was my first trip into behind the curtain of a
Deep
Formula
diving.
One
Yeah.
team. And between learning about Bruce and the team's heritage and watching this uh, essentially disaster unfold, regardless, I got behind the curtain. I got to see, like, the inner workings of how a Formula One team works. I wound up becoming such a huge fan of the McLaren squad. Now, ironically enough, the team with Alonso and Jenson Button, it was supposed to be a fantastic lineup. I mean, they just tanked. They absolutely tanked. And I wore that like a badge of honor. I said to anybody that knew I was into Formula One, that's my team. That is my team. I'm not, it was like I had brought home a foster puppy with
I
how
love
that
that.
team was struggling. And I said, I'm not letting this team go. And thankfully, uh, the team culture turned around. Lando joined the squad. We had Carlos Sainz there, and all of a sudden, our team became the funnest team on the grid, and they still are. Although there's a little drama in this past season, but our team has the best culture. They've turned it all around. It is positive, and I love McLaren.
I love that. What an answer that is. Amazing. So I love how you say about you didn't want to just jump in with Ferrari because that would have been like
No,
following the leader, right? So over here we got a saying called a glory hunter. I don't know if it's a saying over in the States, and it's basically
sure.
you pick the best team, right? Or the best
Right.
whatever, and
I
that's
guess maybe the American term is like bandwagon jumping, you
jumping on the
know?
bandwagon. Yeah,
Right.
exactly that. So I love that you went with the underdog. That's a real British way to do it. The Brits love an underdog as well. So
Yeah, no, you gotta join them when you gotta be part of a struggle.
yeah.
I don't feel like there's any other way to be adopted than to just join. I guess you would call it the underdog. You join the underdog and you join the fight. So
Yeah, and what a journey it's been, right? Since then, unbelievable.
yes,
How
since then, I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but since then, my then girlfriend at the time, we got married, we had a son, and his name is Ayrton.
wow,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's amazing. How the hell did you convince your Ferrari supporting wife to call your son Ayrton?
Um, you know, her her favorite driver is actually Ayrton Senna.
Oh, okay.
Yes, so despite the fact that she's Tifosi, she does have a really big soft spot for Ayrton Senna. That is her
Okay,
favorite driver.
that's
So it
fair.
worked out.
That's fair. And you both won.
Yes, we did.
That's
Certainly.
awesome. That is
And he's a
such.
great he's a great kid, and believe it or not, he is in the living room right now watching Formula One races on the Formula One app right now. So,
So he is as big a fan as mum and dad.
oh yeah, he's an enormous fan.
I love
He's
that. And
we actually have also he's 6 years old, and we have a 4 year old, and he's also an enormous Formula One fan.
I love that. So who are their
Yeah.
teams? Have they got teams yet? Or I guess Ayrton, there's
Um,
only one team for Ayrton, right?
there's only one team for Ayrton. sometimes he likes he likes the Mercedes team a little bit, but I think he likes them because Kimi Antonelli is the youngest one on the grid.
Yeah.
But he does like McLaren, and he's very happy when Oscar Piastri wins and Lando Norris. Huge fans of them, so it's
Amazing.
acceptable.
Oh, that's so cool. I
And
love
then,
that.
unfortunately, my 4-year-old is a Max Verstappen fan. There's nothing I can do about it.
Oh man, you've gone from awesome parenting to terrible parenting.
Hopefully, we can turn him around.
Do you know what? I think your
And
youngest might be what we call a glory hunter.
yes, it's it's kind of a joke around friends that are familiar with Formula One, that they know that my youngest is like, the fan of the supervillain, but it fits his personality perfectly.
I was gonna say, I'm sure he's only doing it to wind mum and dad up.
Yes.
Yeah. Do you know what? I actually love that as well. As much as I disagree with the choice of driver he's a fan of, I love the reason behind it. Just to get one
Yeah.
over on mum and dad. That's brilliant.
Yeah, of
Sounds
course,
like
that's
my
fine.
lad, to be fair.
Yeah. Your kid is a fan? Any team
They're
specifically?
kind of, so my daughter's 10. She's like not overly interested. She'll dip in and out, but
Sure,
she's not really going to sit there and watch a race.
of course.
I'm going to try and get her into the F1 Academy this year because she did it with football last year when she watched the England Lionesses win the
Right.
Euros and stuff. She got a real interest in football, so she started playing football since then. Um, she plays netball as well. She loves her netball, but I think if she watched some of the F1 Academy races with the girls, seeing the girls doing it, she'll realize it's not just a boy
Right.
sport. And that might sort of pique her interest a little bit. That's what I'm hoping for, at least, anyway. But my boy is
Right. My kids like F1 Academy, by the way.
yeah, well, it's an awesome little series, actually. It's a really
It
enjoyable
is.
series.
They find it to be, I mean, they're little boys, so they find it to be so entertaining because there's a lot of contact. Those
There
girls,
is.
they really dive into the corners. They are unafraid to
Yeah.
compete. So it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it really is. But yeah, my boy sort of he'll sit there on his iPad and I'll catch him glancing up. He'll say he's not interested, just a bit like your lad, just to wind me up, right? And then I
Yeah.
sit and then he'll sort of ask questions without realizing, and it's like, yeah, so you are enjoying it.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
I would love to get him into it more, and hopefully I will over the next couple of years. But he's only 8, so there's still time. There's still
Oh,
time
no,
to
there's
get him
plenty of
drawn
time.
in.
Hey, listen, I didn't become an enormous fan until I was 31. So
Yeah, I watched it growing up with my dad, and then I was very much a casual watching it until probably like 2 years ago, I think.
right,
So yeah, similar sort of thing. Yeah, there's always time, right? There's always time.
right.
Um, who are your? You've hit on one absolutely already, but who are your all-time favorite drivers from Formula One?
Boy, if I had to pick all-time favorite drivers, obviously Ayrton Senna is one. Believe it or not, I really liked Alan Prost. I
Mm,
feel like he is an incredibly underrated
I
driver.
agree. I agree.
Um, if you look at his driving record, I'm pretty certain he's run the toughest gauntlet of teammates
Yeah.
in Formula
Yeah.
One history.
Yeah.
And not just that, he's outpointed them at one point, at one juncture or another during his tenure with each one of those teammates.
Yeah.
He's teammates with 5 former world champions
Oh wow.
in
Okay.
history. There's Ayrton, there's Hill, Damon Hill, there's oh man, there's Nicky Lauda,
Nicky Lauda, of
and
course. Yeah.
there's one or two others in there. I'm just running a blank right now, but he's competed against each of them as a teammate, and at one point or another during those tenures, he's outscored them for the season,
Yeah.
each of them. So,
Yeah.
he's got 4 world championships. He's a wonderful driver, obviously, but he really ran the toughest gauntlet
Yeah.
in Formula One for sure. And then, of course, I'm a little partial to Lando right now because, uh, he kind of has been the driver for this team ever since I became a fan. I mean, when I began really watching McLaren closely and becoming a super fan of them, there was Alonso and Button, but eventually Lando Norris. I still remember, gosh, he was so young when he joined the
Yeah,
team.
he looks
Show
about
pictures-
12.
Yeah, they show pictures and videos of him from when they first signed him, and I'm like, oh my God, look how young he is.
Yeah.
But I mean, he's the longest. I think is he the longest? Maybe he's the longest serving tenured driver in McLaren history now.
I believe, I don't know about time-wise. He certainly had the most races.
Most races for sure.
Yeah, it maybe time-wise as well. I'm not actually sure, to be honest. Yeah,
Right.
possibly. If not, he's certainly not far off of it.
Right. He's been there for a long. He's had the longest, obviously the most Grand Prix, the most
Yeah,
starts
yeah.
for McLaren.
The only thing I would say with that stat is obviously a little bit misleading
It's
these
misleading.
days because the amount of
Yeah.
races they do now compared to what they used to do.
Oh
Um,
yeah, yeah. They used to do 12, 13 races, and now they do nearly double that. So,
yeah. That said, it's still a hell of an achievement, right? We can't
oh yeah,
just, brush it under
of
the
course. Yeah,
carpet.
I
It's
mean,
still incredible.
listen, there's some teams that barely let you get two races in.
Yeah.
So,
Well, yeah, exactly
but
that. Yeah.
I am also very partial to Oscar Piastri. So I love the two guys right now. That could be just the fanatic in me who
Yeah.
loves the current lineup that we have. But I really loved Ayrton Senna and Alan Prost. Also, I'm a huge fan of Lewis Hamilton. He's also a McLaren guy as well. Um,
Yeah.
and then if I want to go further into the past, I probably somebody like a Graham Hill.
Okay.
You know, there's more for me to learn about the decades past because there's just not as much media, not as
Yeah.
much documentation on these guys as there
Yeah.
is today. I mean, I could Google anybody's name today and I'll get four updates,
Yeah.
from their socials and from the team. But just learning about the history and how accomplished Graham Hill actually was in all of motorsport
Yeah.
is something that really, really I find to be so interesting and awesome. But if I really had to go with the two, it would be Ayrton and Allen are definitely my two favorites.
I love that. Um, This is the moment I slip in Mika Hakkinen because he's been mentioned in every
Fine.
single episode so far, and I slip him in now while I remember, in case I forget to mention him later. Although I'm sure he'll come up again later, because
Yeah,
he's
of
my
course. No,
favorite driver of all
he's
time.
wonderful. I think he's kind of overlooked sometimes because he was such a cool character.
Yeah.
But obviously, I mean, for a 2 or 3 year stretch, he was every bit Michael Schumacher's equal.
Oh,
If
absolutely.
you
Yeah.
you want to call Schumacher the GOAT, that's fine. I mean, he's got a resume that
Yeah.
that checks every box. But for a stretch there, the
Yeah.
Flying Finn was entirely his equal.
Absolutely. He tells a really funny story actually about when he was at McLaren with Senna, with Ayrton Senna, and
Right.
there was, I forget, there was a lap. I think it was in qualifying. He said he was slightly quicker, and I'm paraphrasing a bit here, but Senna sort of called him out afterwards and said, "How did you get that?" And he's turned around and without using the same language, he kind of said, "I was braver." I was braver than you in a certain corner or something or other. I forget exactly the quote. And he said, Ayrton, he was obviously saying it tongue in cheek. It was a very young
Right.
Mika Hakkinen. He said, but Ayrton didn't take too kindly to that. And he actually got really annoyed because, he's the ultimate competitor, right? So
Of course. Yeah.
he didn't appreciate Mika's amazing Finnish sense of humor. I love that sort of dry Finnish sense of humor. I think it's great. But yeah, Senna certainly didn't appreciate it at the time.
Yeah, I always find the history of people like Ayrton Senna and Mika Hakkinen really just separately, but at the same time, so interesting because Mika Hakkinen was such a cool character
Yeah.
that most of those stories people aren't familiar with. Like I just
Yeah.
learned that now, and I think that's hilarious.
I'll have to
And
find the
then,
clip and I'll send it to you. It's a great
oh,
story. I
it's
think it
great.
was
Yeah,
with
no, send it over. I'd love it.
I think he was
But
on a podcast with a British host. I think it was oh gosh. Oh,
it's
the
not a
guy's
Graham
name's
Norton
just
or
gone out
anything,
of
is
my
it?
head. No, it's the high performance podcast, I believe it was on.
Oh, that's
Um,
with Dax Shepard.
no, uh,
No. Okay.
uh, Oh God, his name Jake Humphries.
Okay.
Jake Humphries, a British. He was a radio presenter, I believe. Was he?
Okay.
He was a presenter, but he's got
Right.
this podcast called the High Performance Podcast, and I'm pretty sure it was on that Mika told the story. I'll have to dig it out, but it's a great story.
Right.
Yeah, I could listen to Mika talk for hours. I
No,
absolutely love
he's
the man.
somebody that I need to expose myself more to. There's so much between the present and the past. There's so much that bookends Mika Hakkinen
Yeah.
and the giants that I forget. I remember seeing just not 2 months ago. They showed Lando Norris joins the list of all the McLaren world champions, and it's like, oh my gosh, like this is a list of Formula One titans.
Yeah.
So it's if you know about Mika Hakkinen, you know about it, but if you don't, it's like you almost can't get blamed for like
Ah, there's
not
so
being as
many.
familiar with the intimate details of him because there's so much to learn. They haven't made a Mika Hakkinen movie yet, but they've got a James Hunt movie.
Yeah. Yeah, an awesome movie it is as well. I would love a Mika Hakkinen movie. That's a great idea.
That
Let's
but that would be something that would be a story worth telling because it almost needs to be told,
Yeah, I mean,
Like
especially
learn
from
more
where,
about
he
this
had
guy.
the terrible accent in Adelaide as well, and
Yeah,
what might have been, gosh, heaven forbid, had he not been very fortunate and had amazing doctors around him that saved his life. It would be a great story to tell. I mean, yeah, that's
right.
that's a great idea, Alex. We need to get the wheels moving on that one. Let's get a Mika Hakkinen movie. Come on, that would be amazing.
Yes.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Do you have any McLaren memorabilia? And if so, what is your favorite piece?
Um, you know, the only McLaren stuff I have is what I buy. So, I have the hoodie and I have the hats, and funny enough, I've traveled with this one.
I love
I
that
have
hat.
like I have a whole collection. Oh yeah, I love this one. This one, as an artist, I really appreciate
Yeah.
what looks like a paint splatter effect. I love this hat. I have like a number of hats and hoodies and shirts, and I have all the gear. But I will say, I'm a Formula One artist, which is a whole story all of its own.
Well, that's what
But
that was how I was gonna get
yeah,
into
we'll
that
get there.
from this point. I was gonna roll straight into
Yeah,
that.
we'll get there. But this is where the Formula One, this is where the McLaren memorabilia comes from. I remember I had been doing digital artwork at the time, a lot of Formula One stuff as a McLaren fan, but I was doing other teams at the same time, just recreationally, and I was posting stuff all the time. And I had Vettel and Ferrari, Vettel and Red Bull, and I did Pierre Gasly at Toro Rosso, and Hamilton at Mercedes, and McLaren, and Lando Norris's, and all this stuff. And then McLaren contacted me. They sent me a DM and they said, "Hey, we'd love to post some of your artwork on our socials." So of course I agreed to it. I still remember getting it, early in the morning, and waking my wife up at like 5 a.m. and be like, look at what I got. Look at what I got. So I agreed to it. I said, yes. I said, whatever you want to take, you post it. I sent them a couple images. I gave them a short bio. Long story short, they posted everything on socials. It was wonderful because I wound up getting a deluge of print orders for the stuff because, I mean, it's such an advertisement that I could
Yeah,
never
absolutely.
dream of.
Yeah.
So that is its own story all on its own. But at the end of that, a few weeks later, as a thank you, McLaren had sent me a hat and a shirt and a note saying thank you so much. And I thought that was so cool. And of all the things that I have, that that to me is memorabilia enough. It's in my closet, and unfortunately, I barely wear it because it means so much to me that I don't want to ruin it. But
Yeah.
if there's ever any, I could get a helmet tomorrow. Like I could go on eBay and go buy a helmet. There's something about it that I will never love as much as receiving a gift of thank you directly from Woking to my
Yeah.
door. As much I don't have the hat on me now, I wish I was wearing it. I don't have the shirt, I wish I was wearing it, as much as having those 2 items that were sent to me with a thank you note.
That's
So I still have the
amazing.
thank you note, I still have the hat, I still have the shirt, And that to me is my most prized possession of all my McLaren memorabilia or gear. That to me is the memorabilia.
That's amazing. How did McLaren come across your work then? We're going to work backwards here, but we'll go with it.
At some point, I just started tagging. Every time I posted something, I just tagged them. I've heard that advice in the past from just seeing things online. Like if you want to partner with somebody and you can't get their attention, you just tag them. And I had no idea that it would turn into anything, but I took the advice from some random, online poster to make sure that when you put up McLaren stuff, that you tag at McLaren F1. And I did it and it wound up working. So, I would
Wow.
tell anybody that wants to, even make any kind of connection to do it because honestly, this is what I love about our team.
Mm,
They do see it. They see it. Don't be
yeah.
afraid to reach out, to tag, to add their handle to whatever you're doing. They do see it. And now we see it all the time. If you're on Twitter or if you're on Instagram, they give so much artist love.
Yeah, they
It
really
is
do.
something that's really awesome. They have this is what I'm talking about. They have a fantastic culture within their team. It's wonderful.
Yeah, and they care about the fans a lot, and things like that prove it. And that's an awesome story, an awesome story. Yeah, that's a great answer for the memorabilia. We will get onto your art now because that's kind of where I was going to roll on from there.
Sure
Um,
thing.
I'm partly gutted that you aren't at home at the moment, because you could have shown
Oh
off
no.
some of your work. But the important thing is we've got you because we were struggling to make the times work and stuff. So, um,
Yeah, no, but I promise you this. I will post some artwork and I'm going to tag you in it and then you can add it to a collaboration and we'll
awesome.
just throw it up there
Yeah,
together. And I promise
absolutely.
you, I see what's over your left shoulder. I see
Mm,
that you have an Emma Capener print.
I do
I see it.
indeed.
Susan McLaren, she's the best. Her and her husband are fantastic. And just for having me on today, I'm absolutely going to send a print out to you. So
Oh,
we'll
bless you.
figure that
Well,
out. You don't have to put it on your wall there, but I'm going to get a print out to
the
you.
whole reason I was even made aware of yourself was because of Emma and James put me
Yes.
and said, you need to check out Alex, get him on the pod, check out his work. He's amazing. Um, and I've got to say, yeah, shout out to Emma Capener and James as well.
Oh
Amazing
yeah, they're
people,
wonderful.
amazing people, incredibly talented as well, just like yourself. What I love about this though is the support that you guys have for each other as well. It
Yes,
would be
which
so
is really
easy to
cool.
it would be so easy to be like, well, no, I'm the artist, or what, just be a little bit like almost see it as a rivalry sort of thing. But it's not that at all. The amount of
No.
support that you guys give each other is awesome.
Yes, it's been wonderful. I remember coming across her artwork. Emma posts a lot on Twitter or X, as they call it now. Her husband James posts a lot on Instagram. But I came across Emma's, and I mean her artwork is just out of this world. And I liked, I commented, just amazing, just nothing but compliments. And then I don't know how it worked on their end, but they reached out and they were so complimentary of my artwork. And the funny thing is now it's like a relationship there where we're friends. It's great. The artist community is wonderful, especially whether it's McLaren or in motorsport.
Yeah,
The artist community is fantastic. It's not egotistical. It's not competitive in that way. The more, the merrier, because
yeah,
you're adding to the culture of motorsport. It's like we're all ambassadors, all
yeah.
being artists at the same time. So it's like, come on in and let's do this together. So uh, Emma and Andrew are fantastic. I also recently made friends with, I don't know if you have, I'm sure you've seen her artwork being a racing fan, Anna Tangles.
It rings a
She,
bell. I'm trying to
she
remember.
did,
Yeah,
she actually did artwork for the livery, I believe in Abu Dhabi of 2023.
right.
Maybe in 2023. She does these beautiful lines. You got to look her up. She goes by the handle of Anna Tangles.
I'll have a
And
look. I'm sure
I wound up,
she rings a bell. I'm sure I've seen her work. I just
oh,
can't picture it at the moment. But yeah.
you got to look her up. But to the point is that, when I saw her artwork on the livery, I followed her immediately and struck up a relationship there, a friendship there as well. And every time that I reach out to anybody that has done artwork with McLaren or for McLaren or of McLaren, they respond, and you
Mm.
wind up making these connections with people. And so people like Emma are great. It speaks again to the culture of the team, the culture of motorsport altogether, that we're able to be friends. It's great. I love
Yeah,
it.
it is amazing, and that's the great side of social media, right? That you can meet these people on there and have these connections with people.
Yeah.
That's the good side of social media that we like. There is a very dark side as well, but that's the beauty. It's got an amazing side, and I've met so many awesome people from there as well. Uh, how how did your how did you get involved with art? When did you know you were? Because I'm so envious of people that can draw. I can't draw a stick man. I am useless. Um, and
I
there's
can tell you, I was born with the gift to draw a stick man. But I met my wife in August of 2013. And by Christmas time, I was completely in love. I'm still working on getting her to fall in love with me, but no, I'm just kidding. No, uh, but I was completely in love by Christmas, and she told me at that time, she said, I want goals for the new year. Whether she said she doesn't want them to be New Year's resolutions because people, tend not to follow through on their
yeah.
resolutions. But she said, I want some goals for the new year. And I thought to myself at the time, one is I'm going to join her in this. Oh, I'll make some goals too. And I figured, well, that way, we'll have something we can do together. That way she won't, she's got to stay with me, and we got to have these goals. It was like a fish hook. Like I just kind of like kept her reeled
Just
in.
trying to keep her in.
But yeah, so she had a bunch of goals that she wanted to accomplish. 13 years later, she has her goals accomplished. She's got a new career in nursing, and she is flying. She is doing wonderfully. Um,
Amazing.
but but my goals at the time were I didn't know how to draw, and I always had this dream in my head that I could like draw, for illustrate for children's books or something. I didn't quite know what it was, but I wanted to learn how to draw. So I decided for that year in 2014, to while becoming a Formula One fan, I didn't make the connections yet. I wanted to learn how to draw. I wound up going to the bookstore and buying 2 books and a notepad and a pencil. And I spent, I would say, 2 to 3 hours, 3 hours, sometimes 4 hours a night for six nights a week for years, teaching myself how to draw.
So
I
until
started
2014, you had never been an artist at all, none of that.
Never, never. At the time
Wow.
I was dating, my future wife, I was roommates with a friend, and he was an enormous Knicks fan, which take us back to our original conversation before we started this podcast. He was an enormous Knicks fan. He still is, and he would put on the Knicks every night, the New York Knicks, and watch the basketball game. And that was the perfect time for me to sit there and learn how to draw because I don't care about the Knicks.
I
So
won't
I
release
would,
this podcast in New York. We'll have to keep you
yeah,
safe.
there you go, there you go. So I would teach myself how to draw. So I did this 6 nights a week for anywhere from 2 to 4 hours, and I did this for years. Eventually, I would move in with my girlfriend. We'd get engaged. We'd get married, and I mean, I had my young son Ayrton. I had my young son in the crooks of my arm napping, and I was still teaching myself how to draw. So I
Wow.
never stopped. Uh, and it wasn't until years later, I had gone from the pencil and paper, I had gone to tablet and stylus, and I started doing digital artwork, that I came across um, two people. I came across a non-Formula One artist by the name of Patrick Lewis. He lives in Georgia, and I fell in love with his artwork. And I was like, oh wow, I kind of want to make my digital art less illustrated and more like digital painting. And then I came across a second artist, and I have to give him all the credit in the world, Paul Oz. If you've ever
Hmm.
seen his artwork, Paul Oz
Yes.
he's like a Formula One god,
Yes, he is.
art god. He really is. I said, wow, I want to do Formula One art. I'm an enormous Formula One fan at this time. I have my son, Ayrton, in the crooks of my
Amazing.
arm. How have I not put the two of them together? So I started painting Formula One and doing this whole being a fan thing at the same exact time. And eventually I jumped from the stylus and the tablet to the canvas and the acrylic paint. I wish I could do oil paint, but I have a 4 and a 6-year-old, and I don't want, it takes time to dry. There are fumes, there are chemicals.
Not
I'd
the
rather,
best mix.
yeah, not the best, not the best. One day I might do oil, but I jumped from the iPad to the canvas and the brushes, and I started painting what I was doing, digitally. And honestly, I really have to give credit. Paul Oz was the guy that really connected my two loves of Formula One and artwork. And
Wow.
in this whole time, I was becoming a McLaren fan, and McLaren had reached out for some of my digital artwork and asked if they could put it on socials. And that was the whole journey into what I now do. Every night after I put the kids to bed, I get out the brush, I get out the canvases, and I get to work on my Formula One art, especially my McLaren artwork.
That
And
is
that's how I got here.
amazing. That is absolutely amazing. I mean, it goes to show you don't have to have that talent from like a young age from school or whatever. You can really teach yourself if you put the hours and the work in, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, I definitely put in, I can't say I put in 10,000 hours, but I definitely put in the hours for sure. And I tell, one of the funny things is being an artist. Um, people will look at your artwork and they'll tell you you're so talented.
Mm.
And sometimes, I accept the compliment, when people say that. I mean, it doesn't happen very often, but if somebody says I'm talented, I take it, thank you. Um, but in the back of my mind, and sometimes I will be like, maybe it is talent that I never discovered. I don't know. I don't want to take that much credit for it, but a lot of it was practice. And it's, that's not talent that you're seeing. That's just practice that you're seeing.
Yeah,
So if
but
if there is a talent, it's patience. I've had the patience to do this for a long time.
if you practice enough, you're going to be talented at it, right? Because I mean, I've seen your work, and you're talented. There's no question about
No,
it.
thank you.
Whether
Thank you.
that's
It's very
natural
kind.
born talent or a talent that you've learned, it's still an incredible talent. As I say, I'm always so envious of people that can draw or that can paint. It's don't get me wrong, I've never tried to take the time to learn, but I am a pretty terrible drawer. I can assure you that. So when I see some of your work, it blows my mind to see what
I,
people
I
can do.
I promise you this. If you pick up a pencil and paper and you say, I'm going to draw, Formula One art, you pick it up and you give it your best shot. I promise you the frustration that you encounter is no different than the frustration that I still encounter to this day. It's the same frustration. Now, we may have different results considering I'm a little further down this
It's just
road,
slightly.
but emotionally and mentally, it is the same frustration. I promise you that.
Mm, I think what is incredible is James has sent me. He told me a story about sometimes Emma will draw something and she will put hours and hours and hours into something, and she'll
Mhm.
get fairly near the end and go, "This isn't it," and just rip it up.
Oh my
And
God, no, I didn't know that.
yeah, like if she's not happy with
I,
it's done. That's it. It's never seeing the light of day. And James sent me once a snippet of a particular piece of art, which I'm not going to mention it, but it was
no,
one that Emma
that's
had
fine.
basically ripped up. And he sent me a part of it, and I was like, "What the hell is wrong with that? Like that looks perfect
Right.
to me, right?
Right.
I'm an untrained eye. I get that. But it was perfect. But in Emma's eyes, it wasn't. So it had to go. And she started again. And it's like, I don't know how you can mentally, if I've put that much time and effort into anything, even if it's not quite perfect, I couldn't just rip it up.
Right.
But I guess that's the mentality of, and why she is as good as she is, right? I guess that's,
I I'm pretty sure, you know, that she is at the absolute top of the motorsport artwork mountain. She's
mm,
that good. You know, to anybody who listens to this podcast, I know that you've had them on as guests, like you said. If anybody that listens to this podcast, please look at Emma Capener's
yeah.
artwork before you look at mine. She is at the top of the top. She is so good. And when I didn't know that she would do that, but hearing that she does or that she has, it 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 tears me apart in the inside because I kind of know what that feels like. Kind of. I can't claim to know. We're two different people, but I will tell you that my son, my son asked me for a Max Verstappen painting. We'll talk about McLaren out artwork, but my son asked me for a Max Verstappen painting, and I painted one for him. And I hated it so much. I went to the kitchen, I took a knife, and I carved right through the canvas. It's the only time I've ever done it. I carved right through the canvas and I threw it in the closet. I was so irritated with myself. I thought it was garbage. Weeks later, I'm looking for something. I can't tell you what I was looking for. Having a 4 and a 6 year old, your mind, like
Yeah.
your mind is scrambled eggs at that point. But I went and I found the painting in the closet, and of course it's shredded, but it's still on the frame, attached to the frame. I looked at it and I said, "Well, that's not that bad." I don't know what
Oh
I was doing.
no.
Is there a way to save this? I said, no, never mind. I wound up painting him, successfully painting him another Max painting. But I looked at that original. I said, well, I really didn't do that bad. That was pretty good.
I guess,
So,
there's a lot of reasons for that. Maybe you were tired. Sometimes when you're tired, things seem a lot worse than they are. It could be a number of things, I guess.
yeah.
But wow, that's it. Crazy. That's absolutely
Yeah,
crazy.
no, it's like I said, I can relate. I can't say that I
Yeah.
understand everything because she is a different person, but I can relate in one instance. So,
Yeah, it's insane to me, but yeah, I guess that's why you guys are so good at what you do. Who was the first Formula One driver that you drew then or painted?
um, I I would have to tell you. Okay, so um, I can't remember digitally who I did first. I'd have to look that up, but I can remember um the first time, and I will tag you. I'm going to like repost all this stuff. I'm going to tag you so
Absolutely.
you can see it. Um, the first painting I ever did on canvas, I can absolutely tell you, it is to me, it is of all the paintings I've ever done, it's the most valuable painting for sure. It like I will never sell it to anybody. It is the world's worst Lando Norris helmet. I painted it and it was so bad because I had never, put paint color to brush to canvas. I'd never done it before. I painted the world's worst Lando Norris helmet. It
Is
was
that the
awful.
world's worst in your mind or
Oh,
genuinely? 'Cause is it going to be one of those things and we go, what? That's amazing.
oh no, no, no. It was pretty bad. It looked like, I mean, no offense to all the children all around the world, but it looked like a
Right.
kindergartner. I lost
Okay.
control of the medium and it was bleeding everywhere and it was blotchy. It looked terrible. But that was the first painting and I really wanted to nail this painting. I thought that I could. I said, "Oh, I can do a whole digital portrait in an hour and a half. It's super easy. You tell me anybody, I could do it. Anything, I can do it." But a painting, I was like, "Oh, I'm going to get this right. I know what I'm doing." I went to bed such a miserable failure. I quit. I quit. I put down the brush and the canvas. I went back to digital art. I did a couple digital art, pieces. And then 2 days later, I said, I'm never doing this again. I went back to the canvas and I painted a Carlos Sainz that was not very good. And then I painted a Sebastian Vettel that was not very good, but I got better. And then I painted back to back. I just remember it clicked. I'm going to go like, do you mind if I go down another rabbit hole?
Not at all.
Okay. Well, not a real rabbit hole, but just a long-winded story. I'll try to make it really fast. I had gotten shingles, and
Painful.
I had shingles into my hairline and across my face. And it was so painful. And like, I mean, it's the word, it's like an electric shock
I've
to the
heard
head.
it's really
It was,
nasty.
it was awful. I remember one time I sneezed on the couch and I wound up crying because from sneezing, your hair shakes, and the shaking of my hair and the follicles was sending this nerve pain through my head. I wound up crying from a sneeze. It was so painful. But um, I went from doing 2 or 3 terrible paintings because I did not know what I was doing to I painted a Lewis Hamilton with shingles, and I credit being sick. I focused so hard because my focus on the canvas helped me to ignore everything that was going on here. I nailed the Lewis Hamilton painting. And then I painted Lando Norris with the basketball helmet, the one that
Yeah.
he had in Miami. I think it was 2023.
Yes.
The basketball helmet. I painted a Lando Norris with a basketball helmet, and I nailed it. And I still credit having shingles for how I learned how to paint quickly, because my focus was so laser sharp because I was suffering through something. You know, they always tell you that it's good to work through discomfort. It's good. The struggle is good. I can tell you, working through the struggle, if you can do it, you don't have to be sick, but if you can work through a struggle, it does enhance your focus, and it does work. And it clicked right there. I said, I know how to paint.
That's amazing, because it would have been so easy to be in that much pain. I mean, I've touched wood, I've never had shingles. I know a lot of
Sure.
people that have, and I'm well aware of how painful it is. It would have been so easy for you to have just gone, not tonight, or not today. I need a few
Yeah,
days of
sure.
rest. I want to just lie
For
in bed
sure.
and do nothing. I'm not picking up the paintbrush. But instead you went the other way. That's really fascinating.
I pushed through it because it was misery no matter what. And I just
Mm,
told myself, I can't tell you clearly what the motivation was behind it, but I just said, you know what? This is going to hurt no matter what. I just want to do this.
mm.
Maybe it's a passionate love for the art of painting,
And
but
maybe a
I just
release from it, I
want to
guess, because you're doing something you enjoy so much to sort of, yeah, I guess maybe
yeah,
that's
I
what it
just
is.
pushed right through it. But yeah, that's how I got there. And then I started doing it. And
That's
yeah,
amazing. That's amazing.
but
Have you got
but
a
I do
favorite
remember
piece
it
that
was
you've
Lewis
done?
Hamilton and Lando Norris. Those were my first 2 paintings. I said I got it.
That's brilliant. Have you got a favorite piece of motorsport art of yours? I
Of
guess it's
mine.
trying to like pick your favorite child, I guess.
Yeah, well, again, the first painting I did of the Lando Norris helmet is sentimentally important to me because it's my first one, and it was a miserable failure. Um, the Lando Norris basketball helmet one is another favorite of mine. I look at it still, and I'm like, that's a really good painting.
It's good that you
Um,
can do that though, because a lot of people won't let themselves think that about themselves. But I think
yeah,
it's important to actually say, do you know what? I'm actually pretty good at this.
it is a nice thing that I'm able to appreciate my own work. Funny
Mm,
enough is I really don't appreciate it until months and months and months later, if
really?
not like a year later, because then you revisit something, or you're kind of
Yeah.
looking through your canvases and you're like, oh wow, I did that. But you almost have to forget doing it to remember, and then see again, and then really appreciate. And then you kind
Yeah.
of look at the artwork itself, and I can see my brushwork, and I'm like, oh wow, I do remember doing this.
So you obviously
So it's a
still
lot of
see
fun.
every fine detail, even when you're looking back on it.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. And then another favorite of mine. Well, I have to say this. I have to admit, I do like some of the Ferrari stuff that I've done because the red is so nice.
It pops, doesn't it, on paintings? Yeah.
Red is really enjoyable to paint. But there was a Oscar Piastri Baku 2024. He won that race.
Yeah.
And I did a painting of him celebrating with his arms up like this. He had gotten out of the car and he had gone. And so what I do is I'm watching. Typically, I watch the Formula One, races, and if somebody wins, I'm like standing in front of the TV. Thank God we have an app. I'm standing in front of the TV, and my wife thinks it's the funniest thing. I'm in front of the TV and I am saying like, "Give me something, give me something, give me something, give me something." And Oscar got out of the car that day, Baku 2024. He climbs out of the car and he does this with one arm here and one arm here. And I was like, "Yes, that's the shot." I have to pause it. And you pause the TV screen. I'm like, "That's it. That's the image. I'm gonna paint this image." And I wound up painting that image. And that one
Wow.
is for sure one of my favorites. It's a 30 by 40 painting of Oscar celebrating, and I put a pink undercoat underneath it. So I primed the canvas. I put a pink undercoat, and then I painted him on top of pink. And what that does is it allows for some of the light to reflect off of the underpainting, and he appears so bright. He almost appears fluorescent on the canvas.
Wow.
And that one's one of my favorite paintings.
What made you go, do you know what, pink would be the color underneath this? Is there reasoning behind that, or was it just a bit random,
Um,
or?
for somebody like myself who is self-taught, I'm still in the process of learning, and I learned that doing a burnt sienna undercoat allows for the colors to be a little bit richer.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're painting, say, papaya orange, it gives it a little bit more depth. It adds a
Yeah.
richness to it.
Yeah.
And if you do an undercoat of pink, it brightens everything.
Right. Okay.
It's almost like you can't. It's like, really, how would that work? You're painting over it, but strangely enough, it does.
It just
And I did a
does.
pink undercoat, which is rare. I don't do pink undercoats for other paintings, but I did it for this one, and it appears extremely bright. And that one's one of my more favorite ones because it stands out because of that. And
Yeah.
I know because I made that choice to do a pink undercoat because I was so excited the day that he won Baku 2024. That
Yeah.
was when he passed Leclerc and he held on, and that was wonderful.
Yeah. Amazing. Oh, it's so cool. I love how you got there and the whole journey. Like it, yeah, it's awesome, man. It's so cool. And do you know what? It gives hope to anyone out there, no matter where you are in your life, how old you are, whatever. If you really want to do it, just find the
Oh, for
time.
sure.
Just find the time
Oh,
and
for
do it.
sure. Yeah, you know what? And uh, they always like you always hear kind of like that saying, like, now is the best time, and
Mm,
then tomorrow now will still be the best time.
yeah.
It's true. It's true. You have once you start, that's your starting point.
Yeah.
And I don't know if, like, I had a really good uh I guess, like, almost like a lighthouse. Again, like, I have to give all the credit in the world to an artist like Paul Oz. I saw his artwork and I said, ironically enough, I have to admit it. My artwork in the very beginning had some imitation of
Of,
his artwork.
of course, that's natural, right? Because
But he was my lighthouse, and I knew what I wanted to go for. And I would just kind of try to study his paintings and figure out how he did it. And which, obviously, he's a palette knife artist. I do brushwork and I do some light palette knife, but it's mostly brushwork, so it's not the same. But I really aimed for something like his work, and I
yeah,
knew exactly. I think part of the most important thing is to know exactly what you want to do, and that I was very fortunate to know my subject matter, the style, and the medium. Like, I just knew where I wanted to go, so that was a
yeah.
huge help.
Yeah, I guess so, because otherwise you're gonna have so many different ideas in your head. You're not going to commit to one particular design, I guess. And yeah, it could end up rather messy, I would imagine. Not that I'm
Yeah.
an expert on art in any stretch of the imagination, but I do
No, hey,
really
listen,
appreciate.
the artwork that you have over your shoulder right there is world class.
Yeah, I
So
agree, man. I'm so fortunate to have that. Shout out to Emma and James again. And yeah, go and check them out. EmmaCapenerArt.com.
yes,
And I
absolutely.
believe you can still get a discount with the code Papaya. So go and do that. Um,
Yeah.
and Alex, let's shout out your website as well, whilst we're on the subject of websites and stuff. Where can people find your work?
Yes. You can go to Rado, RADO, ART studio.com. RadoArtStudio.com. I also have a second page which will redirect you to the same thing. I call it Apex Iconics. I just like the name. I wanted to buy the domain because I liked it, because that's, Formula One,
Pretty
you know,
cool, yeah.
APEX Iconics with an S at the end.com. So you can go to RadoArtStudio.com or ApexIconics.com, and it will take you to the same exact place.
Do that. I need to go and check this out. I've seen obviously a lot of your work on the socials, and yeah, it's amazing. Absolutely amazing. Blows my mind, genuinely. I'm not just saying it because you're sat there, but like I say, amazing artists genuinely do blow my mind. And
Well, I appreciate it so
you're
much.
definitely up there, man. 100%.
Oh, thank you.
Awesome, amazing stuff. I could sit and listen about that all day long. I really,
Well,
really could.
well, well, I'm happy to just, hey, let's talk about racing anytime. Let's do it.
Let's
And
do
if
it.
you're looking for content to make, just reach out and let's go.
Absolutely. I love that. Love that.
Yeah.
Being American and a McLaren fan or a
Yeah.
motorsport fan, are you into IndyCar as well? Or
Um, I mean, the Indianapolis 500 over here is like when they do the running at, over in Indianapolis, that is like a national event over here.
huge?
No, it typically happens around, the May Cinco de Mayo weekend, somewhere in that area. And I mean, it's I always say, like, there's the Kentucky Derby, which is huge, over here. Cinco de Mayo typically has like a large boxing event, whether it's here in Las Vegas or anywhere else around the world. That's typically like a big thing. And then, of course, the Indianapolis 500,
Yeah.
which is, I've never been there personally, but I've had people go there and they tell you the same thing. You've never been to a place that is so large, so expansive, because they do it on this huge oval.
Yeah.
So it's a big thing. I myself have only recently, paid attention to IndyCar because of Pat O'Ward,
Yeah.
and he's part of the Arrows team. So,
Yeah.
and I mean, he's a reserve driver for McLaren here.
He
Oh
is
my God,
now. Yeah.
he's come so close to winning the Indy 500. I was heartbroken for him when he lost it on the last turn.
I
I
know.
couldn't believe it. I was so heartbroken for him. So I want him to either, I want him to get an Indy 500 win, or, knock on wood, I don't wish anybody ill will. Maybe one of our two McLaren drivers catches a little stomach bug and he gets to race at least one race in Formula One. But, um, but yeah, I mean, that's the extent to which I'm an IndyCar fan, is awareness of the Indy 500. And then occasionally on an off
Yeah.
Formula One week when they're on break, if there's an IndyCar race, I will tune in and watch,
To get your fix.
whatever they're doing, and just root for the arrows.
Well, Keith, my co-host who does the race review weekends with me, he's big on his IndyCar, and he actually went to the Indy 500 a couple of years ago,
Yes,
and he said
yes.
it was just unbelievable, and the access you get and everything. He said it was phenomenal, and we've got actually some IndyCar news coming soon, which is quite exciting.
Get out.
Um,
Get out.
yeah,
All right.
we're expanding.
I've thought about doing IndyCar artwork. I've had that suggested to me before. I did artwork digitally before I started painting on canvas. I did artwork of Alex Pilot,
Okay.
and he wound up reposting the
Oh,
artwork.
amazing.
So I've had one instance of some recognition there, but, being such an enormous McLaren fan, I have had that itch to do a little bit of paddle award.
Yeah, I bet.
And if I start doing a little bit of him, that will help to expand some of my audience.
Yeah.
But if I could do something like that, and I don't want to do it for attention, but if it gives me a little bit more fuel to go, then I'll be happy to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's getting your artwork out there, right? So
Right.
it's not for attention, but it is in a way, right? Because you don't do it
Yeah. I
just for
mean,
you want to
yeah.
share it with people. So the more people that
Listen,
see it, the better.
every time somebody orders a print or orders an original, that's money to go buy more canvases and more paint. So I do support it.
Amazing. Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome.
I don't want to cut you off. I also just want to give a shout out to Keith, because Keith has been an enormous supporter of when I'm posting my artwork on Twitter, and I've had some DM conversations and back and forth with him. And Keith is a fantastic human being.
Genuinely.
I'm a huge fan of him. Just man to man, he's the best.
There's not anyone that would disagree with you. He's an amazing person. Amazing
Yeah.
person. I love chatting with him. I love doing it. Asking Keith to do the race reviews with me was one of the best things I ever did, because I genuinely love chatting to the man. Funnily enough, just because just before we recorded this episode, we did another episode tonight as well, which Keith was on with me, which will be out there for everyone to see. And I also had a chat with him as well. Just me and Keith had a little chat about some things we've got coming up in the pipeline. And it was like, Keith, I haven't spoke to you for ages. So it was so awesome to catch up with him. And yeah, genuinely one of the nicest people you could ever wish to meet. So much love
great
for that man.
Yes,
so much love.
I'm on board with you on that about him.
I've never had anyone say a bad word about him, and nor should they, because he's an awesome human being. Yeah, everyone says the same. Bless him. And yeah, to be fair, it was Keith actually that put me on to Emma and James as well, which ultimately has put me on to you, which is why we're sat here now. So Keith's the root of all of this.
Of course, yeah. No, I'm not surprised that we're all branches of his friendship.
Absolutely. Yeah. Legend of a man you are, Keith. And I know you'll listen to this and hear all that, but you truly are, my friend, one of God's great people. What would you say is your standout moment from last season in Formula One?
Oh, my standout moment from last. Can I give you a negative?
Oh, okay. We're gonna twist it.
Yeah, okay. I'm gonna give you a negative. My standout for last year was Austin.
Mm-hmm.
When Lando and Oscar hit each other in the sprint race, took each other both out.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, I just recall the misery of watching Max get away in the Grand Prix on Sunday, and just seeing Lando having trouble getting past Charles, and seeing Oscar, I think he was in 6th place, maybe 7th, I think he was 6th. And I still recall going to a birthday party that following weekend, and we talked about Austin, and they said, "How's it going?" And I said, "I have never been more miserable I hated at the front. I hated at the front because at the time, Lando and Oscar were being chased down by Max.
Yeah.
And, Oscar was still number 1 and Lando was number 2. And I just remembered the misery that I felt from Austin. I watched that race, and I don't think I moved an inch. It was like I was just melting in my own misery, because I thought to myself, I said, this is what it feels like to be in front. To feel like you have something to lose. I was like, I'm getting the full Formula One experience now. That it's not always, as a fan of McLaren, just watching them climb the grid as a constructors, and then seeing them now at the very top. And this is misery. This is absolute misery.
I
That's
think
my
that was like
moment.
the moment, because leading up to that, it was like, well, the constructors is in the bag, and one of our drivers will be the drivers' champion. Like, that was nailed on at that point until that weekend.
And
then
that weekend, I thought, oh no, this cannot be happening.
it was a
Am I
massive
seeing the beginning of
turn.
this?
And knowing how good Max Verstappen is, and he is a phenomenal driver. I still think he is currently the best driver on the grid by an
Yeah,
absolute mile.
yeah,
Um,
I can't argue with that.
but you just thought, how how are we not going to win the drivers' championship? Because every moment after that, whether it be qualifying, sprint, or a race, you were
Yeah.
just, as a McLaren fan, nervous as hell when we should have just been
Oh, yeah.
enjoying it, going, well, one of our drivers is going to win. Let's just see how it plays out.
Right.
Um,
That's what I was under that assumption. There was Lando in the car DNFing and Zandvoort,
oh
and
God,
I felt badly for him. But I said, oh, listen, okay, if Oscar wins, I'm happy. I
yeah,
want a McLaren driver to win the
yeah,
championship.
yeah,
I'm really, I'm not too hard in either camp. Because I'm pure. I still remember telling my wife, I said, I'm just so purely a McLaren fan
team,
that
yeah,
if anybody wins, constructors, great. If anybody wins as a driver, I'm happy.
yeah,
And yeah, that moment stood out to me last year was
yeah,
the misery. I've
yeah,
not felt the misery before. And that's when it hit me. Like, I was like, I love this team this much that I am unhappy.
yeah. It sucked that weekend. It was a terrible weekend. We actually had a few of those in the end, didn't we?
Oh my,
The double
yeah. Each
disqualification
weekend
and
after the next.
yeah, it was yeah, we had a few scares, but ultimately Lando got the job done. Thank goodness.
Yes. Yes. I
Thank
was
goodness.
I was bled out every drop except for the last drop. And then we
Yeah, well, thank goodness he got the job done in the end. Um, Alex, this has been amazing. Amazing story. I love the journey of your art and everything. It's so cool. I always end on the same question, which
sure.
is, what is your favorite all-time Formula One moment?
Okay, so this one unfortunately is not a McLaren moment, but it
Well, that's fine. That's fine.
doesn't include a McLaren driver. This was again early on in my relationship with my future wife. Um, she was she was not with me. One weekend she was away, and so I decided early in the 2014 season, I was like, oh, since I know she can't watch the race, I'm going to watch Bahrain 2014 and I'm going to tell her what happened. And this is still when I'm like trying to get into the sport, and understand it better. And um, I still remember in 2014, towards the end of the race, Nico Rosberg and Lewis Hamilton had that duel where they were doing
Yes.
this through
Yeah.
all the turns for about 2 or 3 laps. And it was like magic. I was on the edge of my seat and I was hooked from that moment on. And it's like, I don't know if it's an appropriate term. It's like they call it like chasing the dragon.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of that term?
No, but I think I know what you mean.
It's like it's a moment of magic. That first moment of magic. It's like called chasing the dragon, where you are constantly seeking that moment again.
Yeah.
And I felt it when I saw those two going side by side, having this incredible duel. And since then, we've had lots of moments like that,
Yeah.
wheel to wheel racing. But that was my first true experience of wheel to wheel racing at such incredible speeds through just turn after turn after turn, and the switchbacks and the
Yeah.
change of, change of this, and then, diving in and undercutting and over. Oh, it was like magic. And that was my standout moment. That moment got me hooked on Formula One for life.
Two top drivers at the top of their game.
Yeah,
Amazing.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That was my moment.
Yeah, I love that. It doesn't always have to be McLaren, guys. Whatever is your
No,
favorite
no,
moment
but
is your
but
favorite moment.
Lewis Hamilton is a McLaren. He's an original.
There's a
He's an
link.
original.
There's a link there.
Yeah,
We will
certainly.
accept it.
Yes, I'll take it.
Mate, this has been so much fun. Genuinely love chatting with you. Love discovering your stuff. Just brilliant. Guys, you got to go and check out Alex's work. It is amazing. It really, really
Yeah,
is.
absolutely. I'm so happy that you had me on here.
I'm genuinely so happy you came on, mate, and I do really appreciate your time and thank you for making it work over the other side of the world. It's been awesome. Absolutely awesome.
Yeah. No, this has been a true pleasure. I'm sorry it started getting dark here.
No, that's fine. Not
Being
at
up
all.
here in the
I've got
Catskills, it's a
enough
little dark.
light here for both of us. We're all good. I'm gleaming
Yeah,
up
no,
here.
the light is shining through the screen, so I'm still lit.
Yeah, guys, go and check out Alex's work on the socials as well. I'll tag him in when this episode drops and stuff. And yeah, it's
Thank you so
amazing
much again.
stuff. So yeah,
Thank you.
thank you so
I
much,
love
Alex.
I love the podcast. If you're listening to this and you haven't subscribed, subscribe on YouTube to this podcast. It is
Bless
awesome.
you. Thank you, man. I really appreciate your support. Guys, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. I've been Jimmy. That's been Alex. This has been the Papaya Pod. And until next time, never stop racing.